Welcome to Gavels Down, Voices Up with me, Rachel King. This is where we leave convention at the courtroom door and dive into your real stories, bold and unpopular opinions, and change-making ideas that really shake the legal world up and change where change is desperately needed. I'm here to shake it up, talk about unfiltered insights, and amplify voices that need to be heard. So are you ready? Let's get it. Put the gavels down and the voices up. Today, we are going to peel back the curtain on Hollywood's famous, maybe most infamous couple. You remember Brangelina? We haven't heard that in a while, but those two, they were famous while they were getting married, and they're famous through their divorce. And they're famous still going on because of the never-ending legal battle that these two are still engaging in. This all over a French winery. That's right. Angelina and Brad, they got together in drama and they are going out even more dramatic. This is where personal and professional lives intertwine with super high stakes. So today, we're going to be talking about high profile legal issues, specifically where it comes to family. Let's talk about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and their, well, I'm going to say ridiculous dispute over their French winery. I'm not even going to start to pronounce it. It's something like Château Miraval, but it probably has some fancy French accent. I'm not an actor, so I'm not going to pretend to have a French accent. What has happened and how did we end up here? They were once a power couple, right? We all saw them as their romance began through Mr. and Miss Smith. They had what seemed to be the dream marriage where they had money and fame and family and love and all of the things. And then it seemed to just implode on itself. And the thing that interests me about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie is that unlike the Bezos and the Gates, whose marriages also ended, maybe with some drama and some shock, the Pitts did not end nearly as clean and quiet as the Bezos. Maybe it's because we're talking about billions versus millions. I'm not sure. Maybe if you have billions of dollars, you close your marriage up quietly, quickly, and out of the public eye as best possible. But if you're only stuck in the millions, it's like, oh, how much money can we spend and how much media coverage can we have? Or maybe it's that, since the beginning of time, people have said bad publicity is better than no publicity. And now Brad Pitt's getting a little bit older. Angelina's aging. They've got lots of kids. They're feeling all of the family stuff. So it's like, what kind of publicity can we get? But whatever the reason is, this couple who created what looked like a magical family dynamic and relationship has absolutely become the example of what not to do. I'm thinking they might even be worse than, dare I say, Kim and Kanye. And here's why. During the marriage, Brad Pitt and Angelina bought a French winery. This is probably no surprise. Whether you're buying French chateau wineries or you're buying a house or a collectible car in your marriage, every single married couple makes decisions and buys things during the marriage. And depending on where you're married, it could be community or separate property. I'm guessing that Angelina and Brad both had prenuptial agreements, so that is for another time. In this particular case, this many years after divorce, they're still fighting over what's going to happen with the winery. On one hand, maybe Angelina is saying that Brad Pitt is using this to continue to abuse and is violating all of his rules and it should just be sold. She should allow her shares to be sold and she can move on. Brad is over here saying, no, you are the problem. You're withholding the kids. You're turning them against me. They're taking all of these emotions from the divorce and they are allowing them to take over and permeate what would otherwise be a division of a very simple asset. They bought the winery during the marriage and they both own 50%. So it seems like really not a big deal in any other divorce case if it wasn't such high celebrity, we would say, you take your 50%, you take your 50%, sell it, do whatever you want. Why is this case being problematic? Well, if you get rid of all of the emotions, the bottom line is that Angelina wants to sell her shares, not to Brad. And Brad, he wants to buy her shares so that he is the sole owner of the winery. What I have told many a client, and I'm sure any of them that are listening will say, yes, I heard these words. I say, who cares how you get paid for your interest, whether it's a winery or a house or a car or a business? If you are entitled to a certain dollar value for an asset, why does it matter whether it's your ex that gives you that dollar amount or whether it's a stranger? To me, any reason other than it really doesn't matter is absolutely stemming from the emotions. And I think that's the case here. I think Brad is pissed about all of the things that have happened in his divorce and about how all of the allegations have played out, including the kind of relationship that we have or that he has with his kids. And he sued Angelina. And Angelina's pissed and saying, oh no, you abused me. Who knows if that's true? I'm not going to speak on the abuse. If she was abused, horrible, horrible. But she's saying you did all of these horrible things in our marriage and you don't get my 50%. In fact, I tried to sell you my 50% and you wanted me to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Quite frankly, I'm guessing any couple that's been married for any period of time, over a couple of years, knows the most intimate details of their spouse that we probably all want non-disclosure agreements signed. Please, if you're not married to me, let's not go tell the entire world all of my secrets. Maybe the only reason it matters in this case is because both of them are super famous. But does anybody really care if Angelina comes at this point and gives all of her dish on the kind of husband that Brad was? Does Brad really care if Angelina goes and says how long he sits on the toilet, what he eats for dinner, and how he gets angry? I mean, we've already dealt with the custody. We've already dealt with the visitation. The kids are going to be 18 if they aren't already, and they're going to get to decide outside of custody court who they want to be with. So why are we fighting over a winery? Because it's the last thing for them to fight over. I believe it hands down that it is the last thing for them to fight over. And if you can't be married to each other, they want to be married to the divorce. And so they are, whether it's a legal battle over who's going to buy it or counterclaims and lawsuits against each other for non-disclosure agreements, forcing to sell, breach of contract, anything that these two can come up with, it seems they are throwing around in the court system. And how devastating for their kids, because let's not forget, they're a family and they have a lot of children and they're being petty. And because they're so famous, their kids are absolutely stuck in the middle of this. And even if Brad was the worst parent, according to Angelina, and if everything she's saying is true, he's still the dad of the children. And I'm guessing that they want some kind of relationship with dad. You know why? Because every child wants a relationship with both parents. To the extent that they can keep it safe and healthy, they want a relationship. Or they at least want the decision to have a relationship. But while Angelina and Brad are constantly fighting, spending God knows how much money on their attorneys, fighting over a winery that they owned and that they just don't want the other person to have, it's going to affect the kids. Allegations.
And now for a quick break. This episode of Gavels Down, Voices Up is proudly brought to you by King Law Firm Attorneys at Law Incorporated. We're not just about winning cases, we're about making a difference. Whether it's family law, probate litigation, or standing up against elder abuse, we bring experience, empathy, and excellence to the courtroom. At King Law Firm, we're more than lawyers. We're your team, in your corner, advocating for your rights and making your voice heard. Visit us at thelawyerking.com and on the socials at The Lawyer King to see how we fight with you and for you. King Law Firm Attorneys at Law Incorporated, where your fight becomes our fight. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
True, allegations false, allegations that are your truth, Angelina's truth, Brad's truth. It doesn't really matter. They're on paper, they're real. You can't take them away. And the kids are forced to hear about it. I don't really care if Angelina sells her property to an independent person or to Brad, and I don't really care if Brad buys it or doesn't. I don't think the court cares. But what is so awful, what is the reason that they became the worst example of divorce and the worst use of their celebrity status is how this is playing out. The Bezos, the Gates, they did a great job. Let's look to them, how they parted ways. They were in the celebrity eye because naturally of who they are, but they didn't let their divorce consume their identities and affect their lives any more than they naturally were. Angelina and Brad, they're using their celebrity to show the world really what shit people they are. Get over yourself. Sell the damn winery. Totally. Brad, get rid of it. Why are you staying in a legal battle with your ex-wife? Cut the cord. And Angelina, why do you give a damn if he wants to own the whole thing? Do you want to stay in business with him? Do you want to stay in this lawsuit that you guys can't get out of just so that he doesn't buy your share because you didn't like the kind of husband he was, or supposedly he wanted to sign a non-disclosure agreement that you weren't willing to sign? Do you want to go and get a book deal? Because who cares? And even if you got the best book deal, even if you felt like your voice was going to be silenced, is it really going to make you a better person to publish all of the dirt that you have on your children's father for the world to see? Because if that's your intention and why you don't want to sign the non-disclosure agreement, God, that's a shit reason. And if you don't want to sign the non-disclosure agreement because you feel like your voice is getting stifled, or maybe the court says you shouldn't have to, again, get over yourself so you can get out of the lawsuit, so you can put it to rest, if for no other reason than all of the children that you guys decided to create when you made your family. These high-stake disputes of a winery in France might only be that of the rich and famous like Angelina and Brad. But it is so common that people have the same emotions and the same reactions to the silverware, the toaster oven, the dog, the car, the house, whatever it is. You name it, emotions come in and control. And what we're seeing publicly with Angelina and Brad is what so many people experience on their private divorce level. The bottom line is divorce sucks and it's hard, and you want to get out of it as fast as you can so that you can move on to the next phase of your life, whether it's millions of dollars or $10. Money should not be the reason that you continue to perpetuate legal battles in your divorce. Grow up, get a therapist, and move on. And when you're getting divorced, the answer is not to become married to the divorce. It's to end the marriage and move on. We see in the papers that Angelina is begging Brad to stop the lawsuit, and Brad is begging for other things. They both are begging in an attempt to have the public, the judge, all of the people think that they are the saint in this. But there's no saint, because ultimately both of them are causing havoc on their family, both personally, emotionally, and financially. Celebrities we can use to teach us. We can look at celebrities and say, I want to do that. I want to be them. I want to become great like they are. On the other hand, we can look at people like Brad and Angelina in this case. Kanye's had his day. Kim, she's done some things that are not so great. And we can say, God damn, I don't want to be like that. If you can get out of your divorce or your legal battle for that matter in a way that gives you control and ends it to save time, save money, save emotional support, and give you some kind of closure so you can move on, to me, as an attorney, that is hands down the best thing that you can do. It's not always possible, and in those cases, let's push it to trial. Angelina and Brad, if you aren't going to get off the pot and come to an agreement, get to trial and let the judge decide so you can move forward. Mediation, alternative dispute resolution, give it a shot. And when it doesn't work, fold the papers, go set trial, and put your story on in front so that a judge can make a decision and give you closure. Personal relationships, emotions, feeling, they all come in and get in the way of legal battles, whether that is divorce, custody, money, financials, conservatorships, dementia, Alzheimer's, inheritance disputes, trust, probate, you name it. Emotions come in and impact. And really, I don't know that I've ever seen emotions do good. Mostly, they just screw everybody's decision-making power up. Understanding the laws and how your facts pair up with the laws can really help take some of that emotion out of your decision making. If you have a good celebrity battle that maybe I've missed, I'm so interested to hear it. If you are one of the celebrities that I've talked about, also chime in, interested to hear your point of view. Come on the show. I'll interview you and I'll give you an opportunity to tell your story.
Thanks for tuning in to Gavels Down, Voices Up. Like what you heard? Then don't just sit there. Subscribe, share, and tell me your thoughts. I'm Rachel King, bringing not just my opinions to the mic, but about the courtroom too. Your part, keep listening, keep engaging, and until next time, let's keep those gavels down and our voices up. Unmistakably up.